Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for attending the sixth roundtable of the webinar series Inside Club Football, organized by Johan Cruyff Institute in partnership with Portas Consulting. We will dedicate today's session to talk about the future of sporting director role with Damien Comolli, president of Toulouse FC, and Victor Orta, director of football at Leeds United. Rob Miller, consultant at Portas, will moderate the session. I would like to remind all attendees that you can also participate in the conversation, typing your question to our speakers in the Questions tab you can see at the bottom right of your screen. And in case you cannot follow the whole session, you will receive the recording afterwards. So, yeah, let's get started. Rob, Damien, Victor, welcome. And Rob, the stage is all yours.
Thanks, Edgar. Firstly, a warm welcome to all of you for joining us in our latest webinar as part of our Inside Club Football series. As Edgar mentioned, today we'll be focusing on one of the most important roles in club football, the current and future role of a sporting director. My name is Rob Miller from Portas Consulting, the global strategy consultancy dedicated to the world of sport. And I'm genuinely excited to be joined by two leading names in the world of club football, Damien Comolli and Victor Orta. Before we get started, I would like to allow the panellists to briefly introduce themselves. So firstly, over to Damien.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. My name is Damien Comolli. I've been the chairman of Toulouse Football Club for the last 2 years, almost 2 years. Before that, I had different roles into the football industry. I've been a coach at Monaco Academy and in Japan, under 18 coach. I was a European scout for Arsenal for many, many years before getting my first executive job at Saint-Etienne as sporting director. And then I had held the same position at Spurs, and then back at Saint-Etienne, and then Liverpool Football Club, where I was director of football. Before going into a consultancy role for a few years. I worked on TV, a lot in the media, a lot, whether it was in France, always covering the Premier League though, or for English media. And then I rejoined club football in 2018 as a sporting director of Fenerbahce, before partnering with Redbird Capital Partners, which is an investment, a PE fund from New York, based in New York. And then we bought Toulouse in July 20. So we are coming up to the anniversary. And then I've been the chairman, as I said, for the last 2 years.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Damien. And over to you, Victor.
Okay, obviously, I don't have the same curriculum than Damien. That is one of the references in this business. I was a person that adds autographs in the hotels to the players, and after that I studied chemistry, and one moment I started to participate like journalist and agent of footballers, and one crazy chairman in Real Valladolid, Carlos Suarez, when I have 25 years old, asked me if I want to be his director of football in second division. No? Still I don't know why he made that, but I give to credit to his bravery, because I was a person with not really back up football in terms of Damien have in all the sense. No? After that, I have the really, really lucky situation to be head of recruitment in Sevilla Football Club with a mentor like Monchi. For me, the best director of football in the world. 7 years was unforgettable for me in all the sense. Then I am a crazy person too. I decide change Seville for Russia. I don't know, suppose for leave the comfort zone and go to Zenit St. Petersburg. If any person asks me why, I don't know the reason. Suppose for try prove myself, improve my languages. Still a horrible English, like you can listen me. And then I back to Spain, to Elche, 1 season like director of football, and I understood again that Alicante is not good enough, and I decided crazy to go to the north of England. First Middlesbrough, and now Leeds United, be director of football the last 6 seasons.
Thank you very much, Victor. I mean, you both have some fantastic experience, and I'm really looking forward to unpicking some of that experience as we go through the webinar today. Just to set some context for our discussion today, the average tenure of a manager or head coach is now around 14 months, which can lead to a huge amount of instability for clubs. To provide greater long-term stability, clubs have employed sporting directors who are providing greater continuity on the sporting side when there is a change in manager or head coach. Even clubs who have been resistant to hiring sporting directors have started to introduce this model. My former employer, Manchester United, being an example, with who hired their first sporting director last year. However, whilst the role of a manager and head coach is more widely understood, there is still a lack of clarity of what the role of a sporting director really is. So what we'll aim to do today is firstly, understand more about the role of a sporting director. Secondly, deep dive on some topic areas related to a sporting director, such as setting a football philosophy, structuring and managing a football organisation, player recruitment, and then thirdly, discuss what does the future role of a sporting director look like. So firstly, Victor, I'd like to head to you. What would you say are the main responsibilities of a sporting director?
Rob, you was really clear in one comment. No, it's true that the role is really new here in England, but in other countries like Italy, it's more than 30 years. In Spain, more than 20 years. And it's true, when I arrived first time in Middlesbrough, I feel that the people doesn't understand a lot about my role. Even more person ask me if I make training sessions or I was in the halftime on the dressing room. No, and for me, it was a really big surprise that the people ask me that. In the football in the past, even in the success, it's the grass, staff, players, and the board. Even in the success, was fight, was battles, because it's a massive difference, two different languages. One of the really tasks of the director of football is create a bridge with one leg in the board and one leg in the grass. Try integrate both languages, try create the synergy between both, and try create a unique decision. We have a really another clear task for the coaches that are scared about have a director of football. They don't know our position, because my only goal is to try and reach the work of the head coach, to try give to him the best weapons to whip, to try give to him the best player, the best facilities, the best medical, the best assistants, the best physical fitness coach. We are like director of football to service the head coach, and obviously be part of the decision to choose the head coach to make that. Then create one only synergy that the club like responsibility, and perhaps you need to sack a coach, and perhaps you need to hire a new one, create a unique politic that is aligned in all the process of the football decisions. That for me is really relevant, that even in the academy, have an oversee about the academy, how integrate all the football decisions. And to be honest, I think in the football, we always in the history, we can prove that you can choose a lot of ways to win. I am not saying that the director of football role is decisive to win games, because it's not decisive. For me, the football director role is one part that you can choose like a model. You can choose like a model, a presidential, that the president take all the decisions, like a manager with the head coach taking all the decisions. We need to be humble and assume that the director of football can be one of the choices. To be honest, Real Madrid is a proper winner team without director of football, and nothing happened. It's not there. To win in football is a lot of roads. I know that my role like director of football for add value to the clubs is in this role, but you can choose your model, and after choose your model, apply and be loyal to your model. That for me is the really relevant in football.
Thank you so much, Victor. There is so much I want to unpick here in terms of what you mentioned, in terms of the skills, some of the country differences, the communication with the manager, and I look forward to covering this later. But I'd like to just quickly go to Damien and just to see how does this compare, this definition of the roles and responsibilities of a sporting director, which Victor said, how does that align with you?
Very much, because I can relate to every point that Victor has mentioned. I think all the two things that Victor said that are very, very important to my mind. The first thing is we as, okay, I'm in a different position now, but being a sporting director has been my life, so I will still say we as sporting directors are here to make the head coach successful, and that's key to the culture of any club, to the quality and the dynamic of any relationship, not only with the ball but with the head coach or the manager, is that we, as a sporting director or director of football, is the first thing the first interest is he should have a heart, or he has a heart, is to make the head coach successful. Because if the head coach is successful, the club is successful, the director of football is successful. If the director of football doesn't do everything he can to make the head coach successful, the head coach is a failure, the club is a failure, the sporting director is a failure. So I totally agree with what Victor said on that front. And the second aspect, which is key as well, is alignment. I usually call the sporting director the safeguard of alignment. He's there to make sure everyone and everything is aligned. Every individual, every process, every department, every area of the football club, from the under-8 to the women's team, if there is a women's team, to the first team, is aligned. And that's why I always say to people who want to become sporting director, or want to say, what is a good sporting director? A good sporting director is a safeguard of alignment and of the culture of the club. That's the way I see it. And I think Victor summarized it very, very well.
Yeah, another analogy that I've seen when reading about obviously sporting director is it's similar in many ways to what you're saying in terms of aligning the safeguarding the interests of the club, but it's actually around being an orchestrator on the actual sporting side of things. There's one bit that I wanted to come back on, Damien, because obviously your role has slightly changed now. Obviously now you're president of Toulouse. So could you just give us a little bit more flavour as to how does your role now differ versus when you were obviously a sporting director?
So my role went to speak about football 95% of the time and do politics 5% of the time, to doing politics 95% of my time and talk about football 5% of the time. So it's at the same time very interesting because it's new and it's a new project and it's a new job in a fantastic city, in a very dynamic city, and a football club that a sleeping giant that needs to be waken up. So it's fascinating, but at the same time, I don't talk about football anymore. So I'm very jealous, about the fact that Victor has got one foot on the grass, because I don't even have a toe on the grass anymore, which is the frustrating thing. So it's not even comparable. I hold the two roles in Toulouse, but at the same time, we know we have a gap in our organization, because if we want to grow as a club and as a structure, we will need to have a sporting director, especially if we keep growing. We've been doing the last 2 years, because it's not sustainable of myself doing the two roles. So we'll have to do something about that in the future. But yeah, the roles are very, very different. For instance, I don't know what Victor thinks about this, but I never gave a toss about communication when I was a sporting director. It's just work. What people think about you, it doesn't matter. What the fans think about you, it doesn't matter. What the press say or talk or whatever write about you, it doesn't matter. Just do the job, keep your head down, support the head coach, give advice to the board, think about the next player you want to buy or sign, and make sure there is a talent factory in the academy. The rest is irrelevant. But in my position now as chairman, I spend a good, fair time, a good share of my time about thinking about communication. How should the club be perceived? What message I want to give to the fans? What message I want to give to the sponsors? What message I want to give to the season ticket holders? what message I want to give to the city council, all the politics in the area, the politicians, sorry, in the area, and it's constant. There is not one day where I don't think about the club communication, therefore my communication, because it's going through me. There are only two people who talk at the club, the head coach and myself. I don't talk very often. When I do, I need to get it right. And this was so far away from what I was doing before. In a scale of 0 to 100, maybe 0 to 1 was me thinking about my PR and what the press was thinking about me or the fans was thinking about me. And now that's totally switched. So it's one of the changes. It's not the most, how can I say? It's not the most exciting one, but I have to deal with it.
Victor, going to you. I mean, obviously, we've seen you obviously on the All or Nothing series, and in many other ways, I would say that you have been quite public actually and getting out there in the press. So, how important would you say that external communication is for you and your role as a sporting director?
In my case, it's a problem because I am not really political. No, it's true that the documentary was a success, against my opinion, by the way, but I need to recognize my chairman, Andrea Radicciani, and owner was right. Improve a lot of the image of the club, describe a lot of things of the club. Still, I can say forgive to a lot, apologies because I broke more micros and cameras than appear in the documentary. But it's true that after that, Andrea won, and the documentary was right for the club. I need to recognize that because now I feel that I was wrong, and I need to recognize. It's true that here in England is different. In Spain, the communication with the director of football in terms of media even is more sensible. Perhaps you need to make one interview per month to any radio or newspaper, etc. And it's like Damien said, for me, it's not really comfortable, but I know it's a part of the job. I need to be clear. I prefer give a message clear. I am not the most, trust me, person to say that the people want listen. No, even in the past, I have problems with that in Elche, by example, but it's part of the process. At the end, have a common message from the club. You need to have this responsibility. In the United States, our role like GM is even clear that you told more than the head coach more times. And it's incredible that here in Europe it's different, but I don't feel comfortable, but I know it's one of my tasks, and I need to make, and I need to try express what is the project, what is our ideas like club, and how we can develop that.
Yeah. We have some interesting questions from the audience, and I think it's some really good questions here around the skills to be successful in your role as a sporting director. Now, obviously, Victor and Damien, you come from quite different backgrounds. Obviously, so Victor, I'm aware that obviously you were a journalist originally. You became a player agent, and obviously then you went into sporting director. Now, Damien, I'm aware that obviously you had quite a bit of a law background actually before you actually jumped into football. So my question, and building on some of the questions from the audience, is, well, what are the main skills would you say are required for someone to be successful as a sporting director? Damien, I'll head to you first of all on this question.
A few years back, I would have said you need to have, the obvious one is the ability to spot talent, and then to acquire talent, and then to make sure that there is a structure in place at the club to retain talent and to optimize the talent. With a little bit more experience now and thinking, I will say the main skill required is management skills, is man management, because to be able to survive in top level, high high level sports, high performance environment, and the pressure that Victor is under at a club like Leeds, which is no common measure to what we know at Toulouse. The pressure in the Premier League in a big club like in an immense club like Leeds is tremendous. I think beyond the skills of being a former coach or having the ability to negotiate contracts or whatever to spot talent, is the man management. I think if being a sporting director, not being able to connect people, to build a culture, to safeguard alignment in the football club, you can't survive. As good as you might be in all the other areas. That would be my take after doing it for so many years.
Brilliant. Victor, how does this align with you?
To be honest, it's difficult at things, but because what's really good answer. But for me, one of the things incredible in our role is the range of things that you need to know. For example, you need to know technical football, but now you need to know big data. You need to know laws. You need to know economy. You need to know for budgets, contracts. You need to know human resource for manage your scout, manage the team, manage the staff. For me, you need to have mental strength. You need to have resilience and durability. Because in football, how many teams success per year? If the league is 20, is the winner, the two that qualify for Europe, and the two that save in the last moment. The other 15 normally are in a bad mood. For me, you need to have ability to inject confidence and lead. For me, you need to have ability to handle themselves in public. That is not easy. For me, you need to bravery to make decisions. That is not easy. Be a person that have the mental strength to arrive to a decision that you think can be right. Be brave. That it's difficult, no? And at the end, you need to have extensive knowledge about football and football mechanisms in high level. That again is not easy. Then now we have these webinars, we have these education programs. It's a course in Italy, it's a course in Spain, it's a course in France. But when I started in this business, my boss and mentor, Monchi, passed to be goalkeeper, team manager, director of football, and was a lot of self-teaching, by the way. Was a lot of self-teaching to books, experience, talking with mates. Now you have a lot of chances to be educated, but in our, still I look young, by the way, 43, still I look young. But in our start was really self-teaching. And now you can profit all this information in course. I am teacher in any masters. I know Damien too, the FIFA degree now. We are in a situation that is better because you can take a lot of information in this era of information. But when I started was a lot of self-teaching in our role. And now, obviously, it's more easy to arrive to this knowledge.
If I may, Rob.
Yeah, go for it, Damien.
Victor's answer is absolutely spot on and it's great. If I may, Victor, I'm sure you agree with me. It was a lot of self-teaching. So the first time I got approached by the owner of Saint Etienne, say, we want you to be our sporting director. My first question, but I didn't say it, thankfully. In my mind was, what the hell does a sporting director do? But I didn't say it because otherwise maybe they would have said you don't get the job. I didn't know. So we had to find by ourselves exactly how Victor described. The only thing I would like to add is the self-teaching. And I like what Victor said about resilience because it's so true. If you're not resilient, if you are not strong mentally, you have got no chance to survive into this environment. Resilience is the first skill that you need to have. But on top of that, I will say, not only we have to self-teach ourselves, but if we stop learning in our job now, we are dead. We are dead men walking. So it's everything we've learned has taken us to the position we are in, both with Victor and us, and I, or Monchi, or whoever. But if we were to stop learning as of today, we'll be out of the job. In 12 months, if we are very clever. In 6 weeks, if we are not very clever. So the constant aspect of try to improve, try to get better, try to learn from, I always say here in Toulouse, I need to be the most stupid person in the room when we have a meeting. I need to be the one who knows the less, because I'm going to learn from every staff member that I have around me. And that aspect of constantly trying to develop yourself to learn about management, about scouting, about tactics, about anything, is key to keeping your job, and becoming better at it. Experience is not enough. Experience and learning then will keep you in the job.
I absolutely agree, and I agree in another situation. When I start in this business, all was really new in a lot of things. Now the people is really, really good. Now the people have a knowledge about big data, about algorithms, about management, about expertise. In one thing that I need to defend about our business, and I am really, really strong in my opinion. More times in another business, imagine the big business, economical, think that the people in football is lower level. I absolutely disagree. I absolutely disagree with that. And more people in a big businesses, like, happen with owners around the football. They think, I take a team, I make signings, I have the money, think that is easy. Annoy me. Think that is easy. How many owners, and I don't want to put examples, but I have examples, and we are in a public situation, and I don't want embarrassing anybody. Say, this is easy. I arrive, I put the money, I send players, and after 3 years, 200 million less in the pocket. 200 million less in the pocket. Then perhaps the people around the football are more level than the people think around the business, in a different level. And I feel really proud that one of my best education, like a scout, is visit around 75 countries in the world. How culture can give me that? How experience can give me that? To go to around the world watching games and taking this. And for me, it's one thing that I hate from the people of the industries outside of football, say, people, executive are lower level, and annoy me. And I have a lot of examples that people from this level try apply the idea of a normal business in a football club, and normally fail.
Yeah, some great points there, Victor. I think we see it all the time now in terms of, obviously, you mentioned about big data, and about how important that has, that is now in the world of football, and specifically in recruitment. And that is certainly an area that I would certainly like to deep dive into later. There's a great question on the chat, which I think links in with the second section that I wanted to focus on, which is a deep dive really around setting a football philosophy. Okay. Now, I think that's a term that is often bandied around, but it's not always necessarily known exactly what that actually means. What might be good is if Damien, in the first instance, could you just maybe try and summarize what you see as Toulouse's football philosophy?
I think it starts with the playing style. Everything we do is around our playing style. So when we bought the club, we had a clear vision of how we wanted the team to play, and what we also did is we spoke to a lot of people in the city, around the city, in the fan base, within what I call the TFC, Toulouse Football Club community, former journalists, former players, former coaches. We said, what's the playing style of Toulouse Football Club? What does the fan base want to see? How can we relate the playing style to the city? Interestingly, because Victor is Spanish, Toulouse is described as being the home of Spain in the south of France. The bullhorn of Spain in the south of France. So Toulouse is very Latin, very Hispanic as a city, the way people behave, what people are eating, and their lifestyle. And a lot of people told us, we in Toulouse, we want to see passion, we want to see attacking football, we want to see high skills, technical players. That's what we want to see, and we want to see attacking. which fit perfectly our vision as well, because that's what we wanted to implement. So we started, the whole philosophy is based, in my opinion, at the football club on the playing style. So there is a very clear idea of how we want our teams to play. From our under sevens to a first team, we all play the same way. We build up the same. We train the same. Obviously, the drills are more complicated and elaborated as the players grow up. We try to win the ball back the same way. We are totally aligned from the first team down to the under sevens. And that from the playing style, then comes recruitment, because if you want to have a proper playing style and be aligned in every age group, including the women's team up to the first team, a club need to sign players that can be efficient into that playing style. One thing that recently the owners were here from New York, and the managing partner of Redbird Capital Partners, he asked me, he said, so when they came, we were already promoted, we were on course to win the championship. And he said, what's your big takeaway of the season? And for me, the big takeaway of this season is that playing style optimized talent. We knew we had very, very good players. We had players that were better than the division we are in. But it's only because our head coach applied the playing style that we wanted to see that the players blossom and the team blossom. So we had 6 players in the team of the season: best player, best manager, top striker, top assist taker, and six players in the team of the season. So that's once you said this, then once you say the philosophy is the playing style, or the playing style is the philosophy, then you can build around everything else. How you train, how the fitness levels in the team, what players you want. You want players who are brave on the ball, because we have 61% possession on average over 38 league games. We scored 82 goals, 53 goals at home. So in order to do that, you need to have players who want the ball, and we've got the personality to be on the ball where it matters in the final third, and who are intelligent, make very good decisions in a very short space, space in terms of space and then time at the same time. So it's all start with this. It's all start with the playing style. All the time when we talk about what are the values of Toulouse Football Club, what is the philosophy of Toulouse Football Club, before we say anything, we talk about playing style.
I think that's what was really interesting in that, Damien, is when you talked about how actually the city, the context of the city, the history of the city and the club obviously has influenced that football philosophy. Now, coming from an English background, obviously I'm aware of how the history of Leeds and the context of Leeds. So Victor, passing that on to you, how has that influenced how you've developed the football philosophy at the club?
200%. Our first year when Andrea by the club, we try create a model of the club that we learn a lot, because was idea like a medium term to try create a develop young players, develop young coaches. And after my first year here, I told this in a lot of interviews. I was in front of Andrea and Angus Kinnear, my chief executives. I said, we need to change the weight of the history of the anxiety to get the promotion in Leeds United. Because our first year, we was second in the league in January. I am walking in the street and the people, this year we promoted, and I don't have the no break to say, wow, we are the 15th in salaries in championship. I have the feeling that we are overperforming. Obviously, I have the ambition to promote it. But I understood that, wow, I think, and we have a really, really good discussion with Andrea about that. I think Toulouse can be similar things with Damien in the relegation. And I think, wow, we need to be practical in a moment. And the practical change the project. How you can change the project practically? By example, try reduce the gap. How we can reduce the gap? We don't have the parachute payments. Why we cannot go to a experienced coach to take all the leadership, to give all the power, to manage with me the signings, the order, make that, and was the decision of Marcelo Bielsa.
Mm.
Establish in the recruitment that we are going more to loan players, confirm players for the championship, to try create the goal of the promotion. That was the anxiety goal that the Leeds United fans have. And then for me, this is absolutely relevant. Like, we need to feel that the badge in the club is above of the people. The badge of the club in the history is above of all the people that manage. And you need to understand that for give your best to develop this legacy. No? Because we have a responsibility at the end in our shoulders to represent it, in my case, more than 100 years of success and history and heritage of this club. And after 1 year now, and after, thanks God, get the goal of promotion, perhaps we need to rebuild another thing now in Premier, no? But for me, it's absolutely relevant that the day, like executive in football, you feel you are above of the badge, you are making the first mistake.
Really interesting there, Victor. Anything to add there, Damien?
No, because Victor said it so well.
Yeah.
I couldn't. I couldn't. No, yeah. He's perfect.
Brilliant. Well, Victor, you mentioned there obviously around the manager. I think what would be really interesting is to move this on into more around managing and structuring the football organisation. So I think what would be really interesting to know is how often, say on an average week, do you interact with the manager?
Daily.
And what are the focus really of those interactions?
In my case, daily. We are in the century 21, can be a WhatsApp conversation on a call or a face-to-face. This is there. We are in this century that is easy. A director of football never asks, provide answers. I am not a director of football that the Fridays ask who is going to play. If I receive the information and I receive ask, I can give my opinion, my answer, because it's not, you are not making your role. I have big arguments with mates that they like go daily to watch the training. It's not my case. I watch perhaps one time each 15 days. Why? If I hire a coach and I doubt about his methodology, I am wrong because I don't know really well the coach. I don't have enough confidence with the coach. By example, this player is not training well. This is the reason that he's not playing. I need to certify that what a relation I have with my coach, that I don't trust his opinion. Be daily in the training ground is divide the leadership. If it's two leaders there, when a player, and Damien know more about that too, I am not playing, I renew, you promise me play, what's happened, and then what is the answer? Then divide the leadership is the training ground, one leader, the office, other leader, my open door, always 24 hours for anybody to discuss, but create this for me there, and even create the power. Why? Because when I go to the training ground, the people say, whoa, Victor is here. Anything happened? Or it's a renewal, or it's a complaint, or it's a problem, or it's there. And wow, it's this situation that for me, one of the problem in our role, and I have big arguments with mates, it's the director of football in his perhaps too much presence, finish like assistant of the coach. And this is a big mistake because you need to take decisions, because at the end, the coach have a short term that is Saturday, line up, change, tactical. Like director of football, you have more. You want the short term to win, but you have more medium long term. It's things like a stupid, like have influence emotionally in your decisions. In I am daily in the training ground, and in the morning arrive a player, I say, hi Victor, how are you? Good morning. How is your son? I watched the other day. Next week I give you a shirt for him. And arrive the other, I say, I think what a stupid. the other give me the good morning, not the other. And these kind of things have influence in your decision because we are humans. And then for me, avoid these kind of things. And I cannot translate this in English, but I'm trying to find the perfect close distance. Be close and be distant in the same time. Give you idea more easy to take your decision like director of football. I don't know if it makes sense my translation, but I am close, but I have distance.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think it relates back to one of the points you made earlier around, you know, you're there to provide support and input to enable the head coach to be successful. Damien, I know your role is slightly different now as obviously the president, but yeah, it would be great to hear, you know, your perspectives on this in terms of, you know, how often are you communicating obviously with the manager or you know, the head coach? What are you interacting with? And I hope, unlike Victor, you're not scaring everyone as soon as you get to the training ground.
I am. I think it's part of the job.
Yeah.
It's just part of the job and our personalities. We do a weekly meeting at 2:00 every Tuesday, where we review the week, the past game, in details, and then we talk about the upcoming week and the upcoming game. Because usually we play once a week. If we play more than once a week, then we change a little bit our format. And then obviously we speak quickly after the game. I come down at halftime and talk about a few tactical aspects because the coach asked me, he always wants to know my opinion. He said, how does it look from up there? So I give him but it's very quick, like 2 or 3 points, and then I'm out of the changing room. I don't stay in. I don't know what he says to the players. You know, it's his field. I have a golden rule, which I never speak publicly to the press the day before the game, the day of the game, and the day after the game, because games are for coaches and players. They're not for executives or directors. So I stay away, PR-wise. I stay away as far as I can from games. It's a shock for the French press, because almost every president in League One gives his opinion about the game after the game. And I told them already this season I won't speak. So they were in shock. They said, okay, we can't call you the next day. I said, no, you cannot call me the next day. I won't speak. Because those 3 days, you know, match day -1, match day +1 are for the coaches and the players. A couple of things that I would like to add. The first thing is, what Victor mentioned about finding the right distance is perfectly spot on, as he always is. But I will say it takes time. And I'm sure, Victor, for you, it was the same. It takes time, meaning it takes experience. At the beginning, when you start as a director of football, you think you have to be very close to the coach. And then you realize you shouldn't be too close to the coach. Or you are too far away from the coach, and then you don't interact. So finding the right distance is really, really difficult, and it comes with time, and it comes with experience. But for anyone who is planning to be a sporting director or is just starting in the job, I would say you have to be very, very conscientious of this. Find the right distance. You'll make mistakes, and even at my age, I still make mistakes, and I'm sure Victor will also. But finding this right distance is key. That's the first thing I would say. The second one, which relates to one of the things what Victor said as well, finding the right distance for me, it also means thinking long term and thinking strategy. The biggest thing I've changed in my professional life, and even in the life in general, over the last 4 or 5 years, is I think strategically a lot more than I used to do. I try to detach myself from the day-to-day of, you know, as this player did this player go to see the physio? Did he do his treatment? Did he do the stretching? Did he have the right, you know, intake in terms of food, nutrition, hydration, etc., etc.? Do I need to support the coach because there was a disciplinary issue? This is the nitty-gritty of the job, but sometimes you get sucked into it. Or you get sucked in, okay, which game should I go to see this week? You know, there is a championship game on Tuesday and a Champions League game on the Wednesday and a Europa League game on the Thursday. and then we play on the Saturday if I'm in the Premier League, and then we play on the Saturday, and then there's a game on Sunday I might go I want to see as well, and it's which player next game, and then you tend to lose sight of the big picture, and the big picture is strategy. So a few years ago, I decided to change totally the way I work and the way I approach this, and think strategically a lot more than I used to do. And that gives a perspective and help to find the right distance that Victor was talking about with the head coach. Because he's thinking about the next game and the game after and the game after. I'm thinking 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, 10 years even.
Yeah.
And that has changed the landscape of the relationship I have with the coach. And it changed my job as well, the way I approach my job dramatically. I mean, dramatically. We now have a head of strategy working with me and culture. I think at the moment we have 47 or 48 projects ongoing, each project having timetable, who heads it, when do we meet, where we are, when do we review, when do we implement, and all the projects we've implemented since we are at Toulouse, every 6 months we review, is it working, is it well working, do we need to change? And that aspect of me being able to focus or wanting to focus on the long term and of strategy has changed the way I do my job. I changed the relationship I've got with the coach, and I changed the view I have over the whole football club, because after all, it's about where we want to be in the future and not only winning the next game. That's for the coach.
Yeah, really interesting there. Actually, this links in with the next deep dive that I wanted to focus on, which is around recruitment. So how involved are the managers or the head coaches typically, working with you on the recruitment side of things? So Victor, I'll just head to you on that one.
Sorry, the difference between the head of recruitment and the director of football.
So how involved is the manager and head coach when it comes to recruitment decisions?
Absolutely. For me, this is one absolutely clear divide. We have the information point, that is the scouting department and the head coach, and then have the synergy with the director of football. Obviously, the scouting department collects the data, markets, players. We can discuss. I have a methodology now in this era of the information, filter the information, provide the real facts for the decision makers, and then the relation between the head coach and the director of football. Like you say, it's not a relation about May or December discussing the winter market of the summer market respect profiles. You need to have a deep knowledge about the idea of football of your head coach, young players, old players, how the versatility, the ideas, and this is daily basis to try know your coach for try find the best player. How many times we say in our meetings with the scouting department, this is a top player, not for us. And it's a lot of points of that. And then obviously involve the club, because here in England is one people putting the money, and we need to consider that we don't need to be desert. And obviously perhaps in another role, budget, in my case, my chief executive, that for me is the chief executive with most knowledge in football around England and perhaps in Europe, Angus Kinnear, that give me the things really easy because his knowledge about football is really high. And then our discussions can be deep about recruitment. And then I have one rule. All the people can say no to recruit a player. Scouting department, head coach, director of football, chief executive of board. If one of these four say no, the player don't cross the door. You know what's happened in this case, because when the player close the door, perhaps you don't say yes, but you don't say no. It's a line decision, and then it's better. Obviously, if I look behind me about Rafinha, wow, the queue is a success of all. And the fail, if perhaps Civici, look behind me, I am alone, but I am director of football. I need to assume that the success in the player is a teamwork, and the fails are my fail. And no problem. It's in the chart, it's in my role. So don't feel frustrated about that. It's in our role. If it's a right decision, it's together, and it's a wrong decision, is my fault. And no problem. I feel that. But the real problem that I feel more times in the squad is by example. one owner have a debt with an agent and bring a player. And then the head coach feel upset about that and say, no, I was with a player 3 years ago and I want him, and bring the player. And then the director of football that feel his power betrayed, think, no, I won't bring this player. And then you create I name Frankenstein squad that never success. This is be aligned. And for me, it's one of the keys in the recruitment. Put all the club aligned in one decision. Then the success or the fail, you need to assume the consequences. But the alignment for me is key in this kind of things.
Yeah, and just building on that point a bit more, Victor. How do you minimize the risks of someone obviously not working out, and how important is data now in this process? I've seen that you've used like a framework which is called the Leeds United DNA. It'd be great to hear just a little bit more around the importance of data and how you minimize the risks and how this framework comes to being.
Wow, this question perhaps needs another hour. Then I am going in 5 minutes. First, about the data. Second, about minimizing the risk. After Moneyball, all the people create a strange war between data and all style. Wow, I don't understand this battle. To be honest, I integrate the big data department like a model of the all style. My big data people live with my all style scouts because if you, the expertise eye taking a decision, create a horizontal thinking. The data create a vertical thinking. Then you can watch all the perspective. Then this battle, only data, only all style, for me doesn't exist. And I don't respect that. It's one of other. I never going to sign a player only for the data, and I don't sign a player without review the data. This is my perspective. And by the way, the good players always have good data. I never find a player with good data that my scouting department is horrible. Perhaps it's not for us, but it's not horrible. You understand me? We need to put the egos out about that. We need to be open mind and integrate the mixed model for be part of that. Then minimize the risk is 4 factors. One, technical, tactical. Watch games. Why scout is that you can watch 2,000 minutes, 3,000 minutes for a player. Watch games. You can minimize the risk about that. Physical. Even now, skill corner. It's a tool that you can have the physical data behalf of the video analysis of the more 30 leagues in the world. Now I create patterns with position for Premier League, a pattern for Leeds United, and I compare the physical data around the world with our physical data. Then done. Now is the two challenge. One is transition. Transition, I recommended a really good book, Super Forecasters, the Philip Taylor. The transition is you detected a player in your country, another country, with other coach, other shape, north, south, playing 3-5-2, playing 4-4-3, performing. And you need to imagine this player performing to you. Wow. Now it's a problem because it's a lot of, you can use the objective data to say can works, and it's a lot of things. When all the people told me about Monchi, Victor, why do you think Monchi is the best? When I was head of recruitment in Seville, and Monchi told me with my team, with Miguel Angel, with Jose Luis, with Ramon, make a list of left backs. And we work with our knowledge there, and we make a list of 5 players. And after 3 weeks, Monchi met and said, Victor, wow, the first one is the best player. And I, wow, what a team we are. But the third is best for Seville. Sorry? No, the first is better, but the third is best for Seville. And more times I try challenge him that try me explain me why that, and even don't give me proper reasons. And this is one thing to take decision. This is the recommending this book, Super Forecasters, that is a lot of people in the process to take decision have a special talent for this decision. And it's difficult to measure. I don't want to use the word intuition, but it's difficult to measure. Then the 4th point, one day I read an interview of an ex-director of football of Spain that he said he never fail in psychologist analysis of a football player. I never heard this in my life, because we are talking about persons, about people that can change his life in 1 minute, that can be a different person in Seville that in Leeds, or St. Petersburg that Toulouse, or Toulouse of Munich. We are talking about people with feelings, with life, that can be better, can be worse. And obviously, I try minimize the risk to analyze a player psychological, but we are not God. We need to assume the fail of the players like a part of the process. One day here in England, the people put me a big medal about we sell Pontus Jansson to choose on loan Ben White that only play on loan League 2, League 1. And all the people say, what a master decision, what a season. Rob, Damien, if you analyze the first game is Bristol City, Leeds United. He need to play because Berardi have a red card. And in the minute 2, we start to build the action. Cooper, Kiko there. And Cooper give a good ball. And Ben White is really good in distribution, perhaps the best English center back English in distribution. He made a heavy touch. And it's Famara you do there. And for 1 second, only 1 second, he chipped the ball, make a diagonal, Jack Harrison cross, and Bamford hit the post with a header. 5,000 fans of Leeds United behind start to clap. The kid made that, was the best player on the pitch, was the best player of Leeds United season, was the best player in Championship. I am absolutely sure that if Ben White lose this ball, can be a red card, can be penalty, we lose 1-0, can be we lose 1-0, and then the social media say, what a stupid Victor Orta, change Pontus Jansson for Ben White. The kid read all the social media, going down, and the next game after Forest, that was 36,000 here, the first touch of Ben White is 36,000 fans clapping. If not happened that was a millimeter is perhaps 3,000 people whispering. Then take credit about success or take credit about the fail is stupid. You need to have a methodology where you have faith and success and be humble, because you need to be strong in the methodology. But I cannot take a medal big for my scouting department. We take the brave decision to bring Ben White to play for win the championship that we won after only 1 game in championship for the performance, because we detected a lot of things, but it's a lot of things out of our control that we need to assume like a part of the process. And all the people say, what good? And if Ben White lose this ball, I am sick. You understand? It's a part of the thing that you need to manage success and fail, but be and keeping strong the methodology.
Yeah, absolutely. Damien, just passing this on to you around this data point. Obviously, you're well known for really being a forefather, or really introducing this whole concept within English football back at Spurs, and obviously employing it at Liverpool. Obviously aware that at Redbird there's the that you own Zealous Analytics. So I mean, it'd be great to understand how important is data currently, for you in your recruitment process.
It's everything we do. We are extremely data driven. Every decision we make is based on data, from contract renewal to optimizing the wage bill to optimizing our transfer budget, where we spend the money. For instance, this season, this off season, what we keep saying since the data is been telling us that we will get promoted probably since October last year. Mm-hmm. So things can go wrong, as Victor very well described it. But still, we were pretty confident we will get promoted based on our data, based on the KPIs that we defined before the season. So what we keep saying is we need to buy goals, because we know that for us to survive in League One this season with 4 relegations, it will be based on our ability to score goals. So optimizing our wage bill and optimizing our transfer budget is around finding goals. We need to find players who are going to score goals and make goals. So the starting point is what KPIs can we define which will tell us the promoted teams that are staying in League One, how do they do it? We looked at the last 17 season. This is what they do. So this is what we should be doing to stay in League One. Once we know those KPIs, then we understand what we need to put focus on. The focus is on winning, scoring goals. We are not going to stay in League One by defending only. We are going to stay in League One if we score goals. How do we score goals? We need to find goals. How do we find goals? We optimize our wage bill and our transfer budget on finding people that are going to bring us goals. So that's just one example on how we use data. We use data on set plays. All our set play strategies are based on data. And as Victor said earlier, we totally integrate data and scouting. They are one. They are not two departments, they are one. Every meeting that we do, there is the head of data analysis, the head of recruitment, the head of strategy, and we make all the decisions together. Everything we do is data-driven because we think it's the right way. You were talking about minimizing risk. It's the best way we found to minimize risk is using data and to be the most objective as possible. Now, one point that is very interesting, and that Victor touched on it, before the end of the season, we had 5 or 6 players we were targeting in Holland. We signed 2 out of those already. Our head of recruitment, he went to 3 days in Holland or 4 days in Holland. He didn't see, I think he watched one game. He spent the rest of the time, his time of meeting the target player, his parents, his girlfriends, see where they lived, see how they lived, etc., etc. He went to South America recently because there is a player that we are trying to get. We won't get him probably, but we were trying to. He spent a week there. He didn't see the player play once, but he met everyone around the player, everyone, and the player, and his wife, and his daughter, etc., etc. He went to his house. He understands how he lives. So we put a lot of emphasis on trying to minimizing the risk by understand the player environment and personality. Can he fit into Toulouse culture? Can he fit into our playing style? We know the data is telling us he can, but does he have the right personality for the environment we have around here? And then if we are not comfortable with this, if we are not comfortable with the personality, then we try to move on to the next one that the data provides to us. Mm-hmm. So we are at the same time very data driven and we are very culture driven. When, as I said earlier, our owners were here recently, and the managing partner here, him again, I talked about him earlier. He said after, I think the first morning they were here, he said the feeling we've got since we've been here is that you managed to find the right balance between being data driven and culture driven. I don't think one goes against the other. I think one goes perfectly with the other, and that's what we are trying to do.
Yeah. Really interesting, Damien. And I thought what was interesting is at the start of what you were talking about there, you mentioned obviously previously that within the football philosophy of Toulouse, it's very much focused on attacking football, and how then you link that then with actually then the playing style and then also the recruitment from a data perspective. So I found that really, really interesting. I'm just conscious of time, and I wish I could talk to you more about this for the next hour, but I realise how busy both of you are, and obviously active, obviously in the transfer window at the moment. So just to wrap up, I think what would be really great is just to hear from yourselves, just really quickly, how do you see the role of the sporting director evolving in the future? Victor, I'll pass that on to you to start with.
My answer will be easy. Hope with a good future for half job. I have a son and he needs to this is my right answer. Hope with a lot of future. But no, making jokes now, by example, my feeling, like Damien said before, because I think Damien was one of the first director of football in the history in England. Perhaps it's not one of the first, I am sure of that. And to be honest, I know it was not easy for him. I remember it was not easy for him in this moment. Now I feel really proud after 7 years here And perhaps based in success of people like Stuart Weber in Norwich, the people feel more easy our roles and all these circumstances. Now I think between Premier League and Championship, the 70-75% of the teams have director of football.
Yeah.
I said before, it's not the success medicine. I think it's the only thing that I can add value to the clubs. All the projects can be valid: presidential, general manager, chief executive with power in football decisions, director of football. Doesn't exist the right road to win in football. I can add value in this role, and obviously I value this there. But I feel in the English football, after Damien, I think, unfortunately, and really unfair for him, really unfair. I said that because I remember and I read a lot about that. Start the role a long time ago. Now it's a bit more foundations. Even we have association of director of football in England that we talk a lot about that. We talk about that. Come on, we need to put our role in value in the English football, no? And I hope so have a long future. But even in Spain, but perhaps I need to back in one moment and change my skin a bit more brown.
By the way, for people who are in the audience, I'm not 65. I'm 50. I started really young.
Yeah, Damien, were you in you were early 30s when you went as a sporting director at Tottenham?
Yeah, I think I was 32 or 33, something like this.
And just on that, obviously you were one of the. I keep going back to this point around you being one of the forefathers, especially within the English game. Anyway, with being a sporting director, what about you? What are your perspectives on in terms of how the future of the sporting director role looks like? How do you think it will evolve?
I think Victor and I come from a recruitment background, so we are recruitment specialists to start with. We did things before, but we are, we got into those jobs because of our recruitment background. I think, look, I'm trying to guess the future, and I don't have a crystal ball. But my gut feeling is, for once, I'm not going to be data driven. I'm gonna go with my gut feeling. My gut feeling is that the future director of football will be a lot less specialized in something that Victor and I are or have been, and because I think the future, mainly driven by data, whether it's fitness data, whether it's data on wellness or psychological testing or tactical data or technical data. I think there will be so much tools, that we will be able to use in the future as sporting directors that will almost replace the knowledge of in each area. So Victor said earlier, we have to know tactics, we have to know tactical periodization, we have to know positional play, we have to know a little bit of medicine, we have to know a little bit of fitness work, we have to know budget, mathematics, etc., to do that job. Maybe in the future, a sporting director will have a lot less knowledge than we have on the technical side, but we'll have a much bigger knowledge in terms of management, and will be a manager rather than be a scout or a negotiator or former agent or former coach. Maybe the role will be a lot less general, because there will be so many tools that will help people to make decisions, that actually the technicality of the job might disappear for a more general approach, because there will be specialists to make decisions for, or help us to make decisions in our role. That's the way I see it. I don't know no idea if I'm right or wrong, but I think it's the evolution I can see for the next maybe 10 or 15 years.
Brilliant. Well, I hope in maybe 3 to 5 years' time, we can do a webinar again, and we can look back on some of our predictions during this session. Well, obviously, Damien, Victor, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
For the rest of the summer transfer window, I'll just quickly hand it back to Edgar just to close out the session.
Thank you, Rob, for the brilliant moderation. Thank you as well, Damien and Victor, for your time. We know there are very busy days,
especially regarding the Windows transfer. So we really appreciate it. And on behalf of Johan Cruyff Institute and Portas Consulting, I want to thank everyone as well for attending the session. As I mentioned before, you will soon receive a link with the webinar recording in case you want to watch the session again. And we invite you to stay connected. We will be back in September with another topic we hope will also be of your interest. Keep an eye to our social media channels where you will find all the details. And that's it. Thank you again and see you soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you all.
Bye, Victor.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye, Damien.